25. Yeah. 25 years we have been doing this, and we're really lucky because we have the booster parents, and we have an administration, and we have teachers that support writing so much at this school. Most schools, let me assure you, most schools do not put a program like this together. And it's probably because they don't have students like we have. That's right. We have students who come to Writers Week, and they are great audience members, and they enjoy what they hear, and they use what they see up here in their own writing. And because you appreciate it, it radiates out. So thank you so much for being such good audience members. If you liked what you have seen sometime during Writers Week this week, put your hands together and let us know that you're enjoying what you're seeing. Fabulous. Behind me is the illustrious Daniel Ferry. He was here for the very first Writers Week 25 years ago, and he continued to present at Writers Week for at least 13 years, which just so happens to be Mr. Ferry's lucky number. Can you do me a favor and clap if you have heard of National Public Radio, NPR? We have a very well-educated student body who has heard of NPR. Well, Mr. Ferry has contributed quite a bit to NPR's All Things Considered program. I would like to ask you now to please put your hands together and give Mr. Ferry a warm friend welcome.
I got a boo already, jeez. Before I do the writing part, I guarantee you that I am the farthest away Writers Week presenter. I live in Hobart, Tasmania. Now, y'all may not know where that is, but I'll show you. You live right here. Is that correct? Is that correct? Okay. Now, how many of you have ever been to, like, Las Vegas? Okay, let's take a little trip. Kansas City, here I come. Oh my gosh, we're heading into the plane. Oh my gosh, this is a long ways. How long would it take to drive here? Man, it's just like too far. No. There we go, we're in LA now. How many hours do you think that takes? A while. We're not even halfway there, my friends. So we're going to keep going. Where do we go again? Hey, I can't hear it over you over there. Where do you think we're going to stop? We might stop at Hawaii. But we're going like forever. Like forever and forever and forever. We'll have to try. And we'll keep going. And we'll keep going. And I hope there's nothing wrong with the program. Well, yeah, here we go. I have digital deficit disorder. We couldn't get it going before, and now I'm lost. Anyway, we'll forget that part. Could you show them the picture, please? Thank you. The picture isn't here. Oh! Entrance it. My house is on such a steep place that, like, instead of most people have like the big parts of the house on the bottom. Well, my house, it's too big, this long on the top, and there's just a bottom there because these mountains here are all over. That's just up my kitchen, and then there's a whole nother floor underneath, and that's called the Derwent Estuary. Goes into Hobart, Tasmania, which is where all the convicts were. And it is an island off Australia, which is darn far away too. So I've managed to put myself in about the farthest place possible from where you are. And it's not your fault. It's not your breath. Okay. I taught school. I started teaching school in 1972. Do the math. And this is my first year not teaching. And I'm really, really glad to be here. What the friend people put on is incredible. And since I've been teaching it such a long time, I was started teaching in the computer revolution, where you thought it was really hot stuff, and $75 to get a 512 thumb drive. You have 12 gig, not gig, not mega gig, but like bytes. And the technology was coming along, but this is from a time when it wasn't that sophisticated. And by the way, there's a reference to a name of a car called a Studebaker, which looks like a banana on wheels. It's very old. And a Rambler, which is the name, tells you what it's like. Now, the toughest thing about being a hopelessly analog guy in an increasingly digital world is that when you finally surrender to the mercies of technology, you find that it has none. Before I had email, correspondence etiquette was safe and easy. Someone would send a letter, I would get the letter, and then would answer it. Correspondence was simple. I thought it would be even simpler with email. I was wrong. For its own internet of reasons, my internet provider server entity thing got into a techno snit with my home computer, and I became emailless. I figured it was no big deal until I realized that, well, I knew I couldn't read my email. The people who sent it didn't know that and probably figured I was just ignoring them. So I had to find some way to read my email. Our school had a few computer labs. They were full of what was state-of-the-art equipment 25 years ago, which means that they would be cyber Studebakers. And one lab had its cyber bakers hooked up to the internet, and one of those beasts was available for teacher use. But it was very slow. Loading pages on it was like sucking Jell-O through a coffee stirrer. One of the other teachers told me that there was a website I could use to access my email on any computer, including the one in the lab. The site's name was a compound word made from the word mail, plus another word, then .com. I figured I could remember the name. I was wrong. I went to the lab during my planning period. It was humming with little sixth graders. I sat down next to the teacher, Apple T, which was at the end of a row of student random access ramblers, and logged on. What was the name of that site? The compound word, something else, and the word mail? I remembered those two words. But I didn't remember the order, and being an analog type guy, I figured that if I wanted to get my mail would be the first word in the name, so I typed in mail. I'm not a very good speller. And then the other word, then .com, and then waited. Did I mention just how slow these machines were? And that if one gets impatient and clicks on an arrow twice in one's impatience, that doesn't hurry things up. No, it confuses the beast, and out of some cybernation of confusio crankiness, a techno chugs even slower. So I sat there, waiting, zen-like, watching for my little kettle of electrons to boil, listening to the one-fingered clacking of sixth grade keyboarding all around me, lulling me into the dream state that barely registered the first odd appearances on the screen of the words hot, hot, hot. What is this, the Weather E channel? Then more words appeared. Words I cannot say here. And those words were accompanied by pictures of what those words I can't say stand for. And in those pictures were people who without clothes or shame or the decency not to be doing what it was they were doing there on my screen in this room with all these lovely little sixth graders innocently hot strutting and pecking away, unaware that right next to them was one of their teachers, clutching a computer mouse in both hands, double, triple, quintuple, clicking on the arrow that is supposed to make the screen go back, back. The ancient cyber-based wheel wheezed. Nothing happened. Is there a please go back arrow? Is there an oh my God, would you go back now to the other screen before one of these sweet little children looks over and sees a sweating red-faced middle-aged teacher staring wide-eyed at the unspeakable images on this screen? Arrow? Is there an I don't care now? But you stop this right now, and you go back this instant, because I am just 1 6th grade glance away from the end of my career button. And where is the okay, if you don't go back this instant, you explain to the principal or the reporter or, God forbid, the police icon on this techno-equivalent of a dirty old man opening his raincoat to destroy the innocence of our nation's youth and my career at the same time. Button, arrow, icon, thing! As my heart pounded, bump, 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 and my fingers click, 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 and my sweat trickled onto the keyboard, the screen, like the Cheshire cat, finally began to fade slowly back, oh my sweet Jesus, back. And I thank God, or Stephen Jobs, or my reprieve, while the kids continue to hunt and clack, their innocence and my job preserved, and that's why I haven't answered your email. I also taught 9th grade, unfortunately. And this is from that. Did you ever face a room of 9th graders? On a warm spring day with a bright breeze wafting in that window, 9th period, just before they go home and try to teach them physics? Did you ever face an ooze of pimples, a wash of hormones, a blank of faces, an embarrassment of new protuberances, unfamiliar breasts and erections making random guest appearances, surprising the hell of motion? And they are beautiful. How can I help these children care that 400 years ago Galileo smirked at that greasy-lipped, self-satisfied cardinal of the Church of Rome? He looked him right in the eye. He got right in his face and he said, if I drop this candle. Well, Galileo looked that fool of a cardinal right in the nose and he dropped them. And they landed right at the same smack dab, damn exact instant. That cardinal's face set red and hard, just like the assistant principal's, with a spit wad stuck on the back of his neck, and he does not dare turn around the fool that he was. Or that Foucault sat in church one hot, endless summer morning, bored out of his skull. He looked to the heavens for relief, and the church chandelier swung in response. Back, forth, and back, and forth. He watched it in a trance of boredom. And within that trance, the chandelier whispered to him, I'm not moving. The church is moving under me. Right now, it looks like I'm swinging toward the altar. But in 6 hours, I'll be swinging toward the window. And in 6 more hours, I'll be swinging out that door. The chandelier's path did not move. No. The church moved. The church moved because it is built upon the earth. And the earth rotates on its axis. And the earth and its axis orbit the sun. And in every second, the sun is hurled through space another 1,000 miles. What untold power our boredom holds. If I could harness it, we could ride it together. Restless and pawing and snorting and preening, jerking at the reins. Oh, if I could harness it, we could ride it together. From here to chemistry. Thank you. I have a daughter who's now in her 3rd year of year 10. was a story that happened. Our daughter was invited to her first real birthday party. Her mom took her out to buy a gift, and over Rosa's objections, selected a toy that molds, extrudes, and cuts modeling clay. The party day finally came, and when I got home, I asked how it went. Her mom said, well, Rosa had a great time, but then she let out a pensive post-feminist kind of sigh, and I asked, what? The gift, she said. The clay modeling factory went over like a Birkenstocks with a ball gown. Among the cluster of dolls, jewelry, purses, toy makeup kits, and sparkly pink princess things. The princess wars are among us. We are met in a great battlefield of that war and are ambushed by the Pied Piperesses of pink. They are everywhere, staring out doe-eyed from books, posters, pajamas, mittens, hats, dolls, purses, toys, and from the entire glitzkrieg of products that little girls bewitch, bamboozle, bother, and beg their parents to buy. At our house, it started with the book. I came home, and there it was, staring at me from the coffee table in all its mauve, lavender, bow-bedecked pinkness. I raised my eyebrow to my wife, and she served up a defiant glare that held for a few seconds and slid onto a side order of resignation. Then she sighed a post-feminist sigh, sat down, and told me her sorry tale. A tale of the monumental struggle of wills in the children's section of the bookstore. A struggle which had ended with this glaringly pink book with its constellation of princesses twinkling from the cover. Each one the star of an animated movie. They were all arrayed like a panoply of Olympic princesses. And they stared at us with huge eyes set so wide in their heads that they could be fish. Their wistful smiles beamed from heart-shaped faces set on long, graceful necks, leading to Nuevo Gibson girl figures balanced on impossibly tiny feet fit only for the glass slipper promise of princessity. Rosa called it the Princess Book. It weighs more than the joy of cooking and the whole Earth catalog combined. At bedtime, I naively carry Dr. Seuss and Mother Goose. Rosa trudges behind with the Princess Book in tow. We sit down on her bed. She heaves the book up on my lap. It lays there like a pink anvil, a monument to parental ideals stamped flat by mass marketing and its vast minion army of preschool hench girls, one of whom is now crawling on what is left of my lap. She looks at me and she smiles. Her eyes are not set as far apart as the princess's, but they are just as liquid and are 1,000 times more beautiful. She asks me to read. Who am I to say no? Me? Just one man against this daughterly tide? She leans against me. She pulls my free arm around her shoulder and then nestles into the hollow she's made. I open the book. She sighs and nestles closer. So I ask her, which princess tonight? Thank you. All right. Could we get the beef food up, please? I'm sorry. Oh, while I get this up here, you could take a look. I want you to get you can get ahead on your reading there. Sorry. I seem to have lost the file. I'm sorry about that. There we go. How many of you are great spellers? I can see. So I'll read for you. I am, of course, a great speller. There's a gremlin in my dictionary. Oh, by the way, this is all to English teachers. There's a gremlin in my dictionary. He's vowel, ugly, adverb, hairy, double consonant, contrary. Now, I spell my words as best I should. C-U-D, I think, spells good. Well, it's in somewhere in the neighborhood, but late at night, when I'm asleep, this little spelling gremlin creeps into my dictionary pages where he commits his vowel outrages. He stuck a D into my fudge. He even wedged one into judge, and after nailing 1-2 bridge, he dumped S's and E's in Mississippi. I will never learn to spell. While this little minx from, oh, well, I'll just beat him at his little tricks. I'll stick CKs at the end of bricks and sticks and picks. Oh, he'll be in a fix because everyone knows they end with X. I'll paste a W at the end of no and grow and flow and row and blow his mind until he cannot stand it. I'll one-up that little spelling bandit. The Robin Hood of spelling is what I'll be. And I'll even spell it H-O-O-D. I used to teach 6th grade in Lombard. And I wasn't a science teacher, but I became a science teacher. And this is from that. It's called Bee Food. Now, the first unit in our 6th grade science curriculum is cells. And the first part of that unit is the characteristics of living things. Our book lists the characteristics of living things as being made of cells. They can move, they respond to their environment, they engage in chemical processes, they can grow and develop, and they reproduce. Yes, reproduce. If you think that word holds no risks for 6th graders, then you have never taught 6th grade. The book says that there are 2 types of reproduction, sexual and asexual, and you don't have to be a teacher to know what kind of response the words sexual and asexual provoked a 6th grader. Furthermore, the book states that in sexual reproduction, 2 parents are needed to produce an offspring, but in asexual reproduction, only 1 is needed, and that sentence sends the arrow of my students' what the heck meters spinning. So should I let this whole sexual, asexual matter slide by? I figure it would mean as much to them as most of the other bewilderments we throw at them, or should I bite the bullet and suffer the 40 minutes of confused giggling that will accompany trying to explain? Being a fool, I wrote the 2 offending terms on the board under sexual reproduction, and I drew the symbols for male and female under them. I wrote the words sperm and egg and drawings of sperm and an egg cell, and then under asexual, I wrote the words division and budding, and drew diagrams of a hydra and a bacteria dividing. So now we're ready. I began the lesson by identifying the section we would read and take notes on as living things reproduce. Before we read, we will preview the main ideas, but before that, we will have 2 3-second giggle breaks, because 2 of the main words in this section may make you giggle. So we'll giggle now and get over it. After all, this is science. So I said, one of the main words in this section is sex. So go ahead now, giggle. 1, 2, 3, time's up. The second word is sperm. Go ahead, giggle. 1, 2, 3. Time's up. Now let's do science. And actually, it went pretty well, especially since I made it a point to stick to the sex life of plants. I even grew a great flower on the board and a bee with legs so laden in pollen that she looked like brave cowboy Bill with the fat sheepskin chaps on the pollen roundup. I asked them why bees are attracted to the pollen, and someone said that the pollen attracts bees and they make honey from it. Close enough. So I told them that actually flowers use bees to transfer their male sex cells from the male parts of the flowers to the female eggs, which are on the female parts of the flowers, and it got quieter in the room. And that the pollen is the flower's male sex cell, like sperm. And there were wide-eyed and very little giggling. And when bees got to the female part of the flower, some of the pollen, those sex cells they are carrying, drop off brave cowboy bees' chaps onto the female part of the flower and will fertilize the eggs, which will develop into flower seeds and fall to the ground, and then new flower plants emerge. I waited for a beat for the concept to sink in. Randy was looking thoughtful. He raised his hand. I called on him. He took a breath and then in an anxious voice asked, "You mean to tell me that bees eat flower sperm?" I could hear the clock tick 2 feet above my head. It was ticking very slowly. It was talking to me, asking, "Well, Mr. Big-Time Smarty Pants Science Teacher Guy, what are you going to say now? What are you going to say that you won't mind being repeated at 33 dinner tables tonight when Dad asks, 'Well, little Jennifer, Jason, Josh, Ashley, Adam, Lakeisha, Caitlin, what did you learn in school today?' When I looked up, I saw 33 faces, for once looking right at me, and for once really interested in an answer. How many of you have regular seating charts in your classes? How many of you are Shakespeare fans? Well, I've got a seating chart mixed with Shakespeare for you. But soft, what child at yonder desk now sits? Is it homeroom? Then Andrea be her name. Unless it be and may just be so that she is Andrea who sits at next class hence. Oh, I am so sick and pale with grief, these students' names are sorely hard to glean. Is it Christina? Or if not, that Christine. Oh, I knew that she were. She speaks, yet she gives no clue. What's her name? She asks a question, I will answer it, but not speak her name, be it not Itzel. Or Isabel, Arcel, Andrea, Aisha, Andrea, Aleka, Anna, Oyel, Elise? No. Are these not the likest names in all the school? No, but it gets worse and sorely entreats my brain to search within its sphere till such names return. Be it Callie who sits here? No. 'Tis Kaylee in her stead. Oh, mayhaps Kelly, Kendall, Kenna, Casey might be she. Oh, this cramping of my brain doth cloud me so. Seating chart, wherefore art thou seating chart? I must and I know farther, I have forgot her name, but is it the name that is my enemy? What's in a name? That which what we call a boy by any other name would still smell like feet. Be he Taylor would not she Taylor also be called? Or maybe Corey, or Cody, Eileen, Alan, Jacob, Jason, Josh. But I have but this not the singlest clue. Oh, darn it, I give up. Henceforth to speak my name, which is a great part of thee, I shall simply do as once my father did. Begin by naming one. Kelly? No. Be that not it? Then hence I shall recite the rest by name. Kaylee, Callie, Cassie, Casey, Kendall, Kenna, Christina, Corey, Cody, Alan, Alexis, Lucas, Jacob, Taylor, John, Anthony, Isabel, Itzel, Evan, Eel, Andrea, Acacia, Aleka, Anna, and so tumblest on and on and on, till luck I land upon that name thy parents gave to thee. How many of you love standardized tests? Well, I moved away before was it the IGAPs? Or the IGAPs were in Illinois probably before you were in the high school. And that's when this came. Several Marches ago, I, like thousands of other 6th grade teachers across the state of Illinois, stood in front of my classroom and tore the plastic from a stack of papers. On those papers were printed the topic my 6th graders and dozens of thousands of other Illinois 6th graders would spend the next 40 minutes writing about. We were all graded on the results, the students, the teachers, and the schools. We took the Illinois Goal Assessment Test, the IGAPS. It was a state law, so all across the state, students wrote about the same topic, took the same test at the same time, followed the same rules, and so that everyone and everything would be the same. It was a law because the easiest way for politicians to pretend they care about education is to stand up and declare that students are not learning. Because teachers can't teach, and the schools are rotten, and we're going to fix it by taking a test. Not that those politicians had any idea what we would test for, or how we would test for that, if we knew it, and if it doesn't, and if we knew it, but that does not matter, it sounds good on TV. So the Illinois state legislature told our state bureaucrats to design tests in reading, writing, math, and social studies and make everyone take them. And so, for 2 weeks in March, we all took the IGAPs. That way everyone and everything would be the same. Almost. So Illinois students learn to write by the numbers, in which the first paragraph of a paper must do this and this and this, and the 3 main body paragraphs must do that and that and that, and the conclusion paragraph must begin with 2 thises, followed by 3 that's, and then with an exciting this. I'm not making this up, or that. It's that bad. And those were just the rules for a persuasive type paper. We learned the different rules for writing expository and narrative type papers. This is not how people write. This is how they fill out tax forms. Then we have the reading test, then the math test, then the multiple choice science test, and then God help us. Measuring the richness of learning by taking standardized tests is like judging chili by counting the beans. The kids hated it. The best writers especially hated it. Mr. Ferry, if I want to tell my story a different way, why can't I? They explained that our state legislature has determined that we must have standards of instruction. The children looked at me like I needed to blow my nose. I told them about the basics of form that once mastered can be improvised upon. They kept looking. I tried to convince them that these are efficient formulas for clear writing. They just snickered. Finally, I said, look, neither of us have any choice here. You have to take these tests. I have to give them, and some poor soul in North Carolina has to read and grade 500 of them a day. They have a list of the rules you learn for writing each kind of essay, and if you don't follow the rule, they take points from your score. They don't care what you write, they only care about the rules. If you don't follow the rules, you get a bad score. The scores are published in the paper. If our scores aren't good, then people won't think our schools are good, and they won't want to move here, which will make the real estate people mad, and they will yell at the school board, who will yell at the principal, who will yell at me. And this is not about writing, this is about not getting yelled at. This they understood. Each student received an IGAP test booklet. On its front page is for student information. Students must record their name, grade, student's ID, state, date of birth, ethnicity, and God knows what else on it. Each letter or number goes in a box, and under the box, a number 2 pencil, the student must fill in a circle that corresponds to that letter or number or ethnicity, and the pages look as if a loan application and an optical illusion had a baby. If the boxes and circles aren't filled out right, or the marks aren't dark enough that machines can't read them, and we get yelled at. So we filled out the information pages on the day before we began the test. Some of them came back a mess with random marks everywhere. So my teaching partner and I stuck Post-it notes on the worst of them saying, print your name clearly, fill in circles under date of birth, or darken circles. The morning of the first writing test, my students sat like pickets, Virginians waiting for the charge. I handed out the packet of prompt pages for the writing topic printed on them, and we handed out the students' test packet, some sporting Post-it reminders to print your name more clearly or to darken circles. Then I stood in front of the class and read from my booklet, which by law were the exact same words thousands of other sixth grade teachers would be reading that morning. This is the test I told you about. You will have 40 minutes to blah, 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 ending with turn over the prompt page, read what the topic is, and begin writing. Good luck. I wasn't bound by law to say good luck, but I thought I could maybe wing it there. The topic was, should students be required to wear uniforms to school? The children picked up their pencils, took a breath, and wrote. The only sound was the turning of pages and the scratching and sharpening of pencils. As required by law, I announced when 20 minutes were left, then 5, then when the time was up, we collected the prompt pages because they must be counted and sent back to the state. We collected the test packets and set them on my desk when students tried to talk with them would be about wearing uniforms. And one would not. I would have loved to watch her face as she read. There may still be hope. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This goes to all the teachers that put up with all of us. I cannot think of a nobler profession except maybe an alligator wrangler. So, it's kind of a lesson. How to be a teacher. Now. Before you say anything, you always say, now. Now. After you say anything, you always say, okay? Okay? Now. Wear dumb shoes. Spray the front row. Drive a car with 4 doors and rust. Have a big bottom. Have droopy drawers. Wear fashions from 15 years ago. If you forget what those fashions look like, go to the library. Get 15-year-old magazines. Look at what people are wearing. Wear that. There's a good way to choose hairstyles, too, if you need one. Now, tell dumb jokes. Laugh at them. If your students don't laugh, repeat the joke, because you probably didn't get it the first time. Okay? Now, tell dumb jokes. Laugh at them. If your students don't laugh, repeat the joke, because you probably didn't get it the first time. Okay? Now, remember that there is three things that you can say whenever a student does anything. 1, it does a really good. 2, that was a good try. 3, it's interesting. Only one answer. I don't know. What do you think? Lay awake in bed all Sunday night. Become the choreographer of the classroom. Put dance steps on the floor. Draw them on the blackboard. Paste them to the ceiling and hang them from the star. Help each student find that step that is just past their reach. Then get out of the way. Let them take the step. Watch them make the dance their own. Wait till they look up. Wait till they smile before you say, hey, this is really good. Remember what it was like before you was such a fancy dancer like you is now. Show more than tell. Do more than show. Watch more than do. Listen. Always listen. And remember what it was like for you. And love students as you will want someone to love yourself. Okay. How's time, my friends? What? 3 minutes? Okay. So that I don't have any 4-minute things. Does anybody have any question about any of the things of the writing, or where the hell Hobart is, or where are we?
Yep, go ahead, right over there.
I can't see.
Yep,
Where are we?
that's you.
Oh, there you are. I'm sorry?
Well, I married an Aussie. She's a musician, and after we had our children, she just decided that she wanted to live in Australia. So I went there, and Canberra was the capital, and then she got a job at the university in Hobart, Tasmania, where it's like the bottom.
I think you probably had a long day. So, friend, thank you very much.